now. Uh, we're recording. I got it. Next, we're going to go through finding purpose in your community. I think, are blessed, and it's really awesome to live in a community where there's so many ways to get involved. So just kind of give you an overview of how that network works and, where you can find opportunities, and depending on where you volunteer, the types of things that you can volunteer for. In complete transparency, this course material is something we also do with SCAN, the Senior Activities Network. We just launched a whole course, 6 weeks of Volunteer for the Health of It. Don't worry, you're getting the condensed version. But yesterday I was looking for different opportunities. We had all of our participants. We went online. They brought things in from the community. And there are volunteer opportunities ranging from, hospice, being someone with their final moments, to transporting injured birds to a bird sanctuary. It goes every way in between. So I think we're really lucky to live in a community where there's something for you and your interest. And then that will round it out in the right fit. So where to start looking and how to evaluate some opportunities. So been talking to you for 2 minutes. Who am I? I'm the executive director over at Caregiver Volunteers of Central Jersey. We're a nonprofit serving seniors in Ocean and Monmouth County. Our program is completely it's a volunteer service program. So our volunteers do about 30,000 hours annually of community service to seniors in our area who need a little help. Also, personally, I'm a mom. I'm a local resident of Bayville, and I've been a lifelong volunteer. My aunt got me into volunteering. She is an IHM nun, so I was asked forcefully to go and volunteer, from age 10 and up. And that's something that stuck with me and something we do with our family. This past weekend, we were volunteering at the snack stand, my daughter and I, who one of the perks is getting more knowledge or job experience if you need to. And she was telling me I needed to raise the price of the soft pretzels. So she's a budding entrepreneur from her volunteer experience. So too, I know a big hurdle for volunteering is we don't have the time. But I'm telling you, even if you carve out the smallest amounts, it's so beneficial. And I have a pretty hectic schedule between work and kids, and I never regret the time that I put towards volunteering. I always get more than I give. So Caregiver Volunteers, just a little bit about our mission. As I mentioned before, we're a service program. So we help seniors in the community who are no longer driving to help them continue to age in their homes, a part of their community. All of our volunteer programs or jobs are all designed to help seniors who may be prone to more isolation. So just to keep them connected, offer companionship, and help cover the gaps in their supportive networks. So, they continue to age as a part of the community rather, than having to go be institutionalized or go to an assisted living. Many of their goals. So our volunteers, 30,000 hours, that impact is, and in our surveys we do with our clients into seeing how we fulfilling our mission, well, most of them report that they have more confidence in being able to continue to age with having this support network. So it's important to note every volunteer opportunity, that's what they're doing. You're working to further a mission and benefit your community, particularly if you volunteer locally, which I think you get the most out of it because you're building up, your neighbor, your home, and where you live and work. So before I started, I did find a great little film. I can talk about the benefits of volunteering and I will in the next slide, but this I think really captures what it means in a fun way. So I'm going to let it roll. So I thought that perfectly captured how volunteering can affect you, and um, bringing just a little bit more joy to the people around you. I mean, you get more than you give. You feel better, and it kind of leads me into the next piece. Why volunteer? All of us have our time, talent, and energy that we have a variety of options and where we could use it. But um, some of the most fulfilling things that you can do to even build yourself up is just getting involved. So, I chose the three, I think, top things. We are all hardwired to be connected. So volunteering is a great way to connect with people with like interests to you if you both choose the same organization or the same thing. Also, you learn so much in kind of getting out of your comfort zone and being a part of something that's outside of your initial like job or family. So there's so many friends and knowledge to be gained by just, lending your time here and there to a different organization that needs help. Might be interested to note that it's good for your both mental and physical health. So the Mayo Clinic actually put out a really cool study, the results of their study this past September about, how volunteering can help things like reduce your stress and anxiety. And not only I felt better, but with the longer you volunteer, the more you volunteer, that stress reducing leads to physical benefits like lower risk for heart disease. I have more lower mortality rates in people when we did controls for gender, age, and other physical health factors. So that feel good feeling you get increases those hormones in your brains that release that chemical dopamine feeling of happiness. What a better way to do that. And it's just kind of, we're all hardwired to be connected, and this is just a great way. And you have so many opportunities, which we're going to talk about. Also, which is a really cool piece, it can advance your career. So for people who are looking to fine tune a skill, a lot of articles and peer reviews that we have mentioned, fine tuning skills. If you're in sales, you're interacting, you're talking to people, you're learning about structures of nonprofits, or if you're helping with the back end, like budgeting, marketing, fundraising, you are sharpening your own skill sets. So it's a really cool way to do it. And all I think is if you think in a cyclical, so you're getting something, your community is getting something, the organization, the people that they help, it's like a win-win-win-win. Sorry, I try to make the office pun with the 4 wins, but you get what I'm saying. I also wanted to just address some misconceptions about volunteering. A lot of us, and there's the movie called Volunteering. It has Tom Hanks in it. It's like from 1982. I had a clip, I'm not going to show it, but if you have a minute, totally watch it. It really captures all of those volunteering misconceptions, and it's pretty funny. So volunteering is not only for the young, you can get involved at any age point in time in your life. Volunteering is only done for a short period of time. No, there's many opportunities that, it's every Saturday, every Sunday, or every, Tuesday night you go and do something. So it's not those short one event type thing. And the last one, that volunteering is like easy work or nominal work, and it doesn't need commitment. There are plenty of different volunteer opportunities where it might entail more training or an interview process, where you're really looking for a particular skill set to move a mission or an agenda forward. So it's not all just, doing one, menial labor type task where, there's a great way a group can do that, but there are some really, really unique opportunities where it's rewarding work, but it does take commitment, and it does go beyond what you would initially think of a quick volunteer opportunity. All volunteer opportunities, I should say, do have that merit regardless of what you're doing. Oh, I went the wrong way. Okay, so now I wanted to go with finding purpose in your community and giving you a little bit more idea of where you can get involved and how some of these opportunities are connected. So here are what we've pieced as the umbrella organizations and where you can get involved. And all of these have different types of opportunities. And we're lucky to work in a community where I do think that all of these different types of organizations work together pretty well. So first you have like your civic groups, your Kiwanis, your Knights of Columbus, even like your rec departments for your town. And these are all like service clubs that do things the purpose to benefit their community. So they're all around one mission, but they get involved everywhere. They're the ones running your coat drives, food drives. They can partner with other nonprofits to do special projects. And these are really localized typically by town, which is a great way to get involved and also have a nice social aspect or element. And also they do a lot of fundraising, which is fun too. Next, like your congregations, many congregations or houses of worship have different missions that they support where they'll work with certain groups with people in need. So a lot of that is like and do social service and basic human service work, which is really, really powerful and fulfilling. You have your local governments, your rec departments, they're looking for people to organize park cleanups or do, your local pride days. So you have a range of opportunities there. Healthcare, this is where you get your hospitals, that not only hospitals, but you have nursing homes that are always looking for volunteers, hospice that are looking for volunteers. And there are different jobs within there. Like within the hospital, you could even work at a thrift store that helps benefit their mission, which is really cool and not something that you typically would associate with like healthcare volunteering. Or, for that to do the Cuddler program. That's another program that we've just looked into to help newborn infants. So that's really cool. Typically, we think of nonprofits like ours, where you can volunteer, where we're grouped around a specific mission or purpose in which we need you to help uplift and get us to the end line of helping more people. And then lastly, schools kind of hit the nail on the head. A lot of the PTOs are looking for volunteers. Typically, you have a child in the school, but not necessarily. Some schools partner with other nonprofits like Children Family Services and do READ programs. So there's a lot of different ways that you can get involved in a lot of places where these different groups interconnect. Like I know we work with schools to do certain drives to make cards for some of our clients. We work with our Kiwanises, our Rotaries to do stuff. So they're all interconnected. So depending on what you want to do, this is places you can start right in your local community. Okay. So the next step is like how to get involved. And a lot of times where volunteering, you may not have a good experience is where your expectations and the reality don't meet. So a good way to do that is I'm going to give you some tips and tricks to be able to tailor your expectations or know what to expect, because they all kind of work in a similar way. Not all volunteer programs are the same, but we all typically have the same elements. So first, step one, easy enough, is you're going to shop around and where can you find different opportunities. And then step two, kind of a good way for you to gauge and evaluate those opportunities. So finding opportunities. Since it's 2022, and I would say in 2018, this list might have had for online opportunities, might have had 4 search engines I would recommend. I think post-COVID, we all got a little bit more savvy, and you can find a lot of these opportunities now online, which is cool. I would say the first place you want to go who have the most localized opportunities is Volunteer Match. They have some really cool, and they have great ways if you're going to compare opportunities, they're all in the same format. So for those of you who like similar formats, so all your ducks can be in a row if you're doing a comparison to make a decision, this one offers a pretty cool thing and pretty good sorting features. You have Engage, Just Serve. United Way also has a pretty good localized opportunities. Same thing for AARP, Create the Good. They have some unique opportunities. Just want to point out like Feeding America. So if you want to address hunger in your community, and that will hook you up with like local food pantries. So that's a really specialized search engine to get involved with a particular type of mission. Same thing with American Red Cross, especially if you're interested in helping out with any disaster relief. They're kind of the good place to go. And that's why I put them down at the bottom of the list. So online's not the only place to find opportunities. And I did want to point out that online opportunities are typically programs that have a little bit more robust volunteer programs. So your smaller organizations sometimes won't have the bandwidth to maintain or put opportunities up there. So if you want to do something really localized or for someone smaller, you could even do a Google search for something smaller if it's something very specific. But if you're going to go in person, I would suggest you check your local community board. So you can check in your libraries and your community centers. Most of them have resource tables where organizations will post if there's a volunteer opportunity. Same thing, sometimes we post ours in like local businesses, in our Wawas or Quick Checks in towns that we really need people. On grocery stores, they have community boards. So that's always a cool, fun spot you can check in. Again, that's for really localized opportunities if they're posting right in your local businesses. And if you have a local business, if you want to post opportunities for people, that's a great way also to spread the word, because we need about 300 new volunteers each year to onboard. So to actually onboard 300 volunteers, we probably need to talk to over 500 people or get that information. That's kind of our conversion rate for someone to come on and actually become a regular volunteer and take regular shifts for us. So the more people we can get to spread the word, the better. And that's a great way to do it. So as people still check those. Okay. Next is evaluating the opportunity. So most volunteer opportunities, they have a job description. So as if you're going to evaluate where you're going to work, you can evaluate where you want to volunteer. So this is where you're going to get things like your organization's mission, the exact type of help that they're looking for, specific tasks, if they want you to have some required skills, the setting and the time commitment. So that's kind of a good way to rule out, oh, this is something interesting to me. Next, usually with all volunteer opportunities, they have some type of onboarding. Now, this will vary depending on the type of organization and the job that you're going to be doing for that organization, but this really helps guide people through the organization structure. So you kind of know what to expect and how work flows in the organization to carry out the mission. They go through their rules and procedures. They showcase, they have the specific goals and requirements. Pardon me, I'm losing my train. And they outline the responsibilities. Usually at this stage, if there's background checks required or additional forms for you to fill out, this is where you'll get it. And I just want to put a caveat. So if you do any volunteer opportunities where you're working with individual people or students or children, most of them require a background check. Usually it's just the best practice, if you want to make sure you're getting the right people to help those in need. Also, from the business end of it, it's usually required for insurance. So if you have an opportunity that's working one-on-one with individuals or children and it doesn't require a background check, I would just, maybe ask some questions about that and how that's covered. Typically it's nothing, but that's something that keep your common sense hat on, that most programs now do require that background check. And also a good thing, and where they'll go over at onboarding, but communication. This is, in any good relationship, communication is key. But this helps too for your expectation is how do they communicate? Do they typically do phone calls? Do you just get a newsletter? Do you have one-on-one matching, or do you have a volunteer coordinator? How are you kept in the loop, especially if you're doing a recurring job or shifts? And how do you know about, the different policies or procedures? How are they going to keep you in the loop? Most people do the email. Do they do specialized emails? For our programs, we have specialized emails for our transporters, for people who grocery shop, just to, make sure they're up to date on any issues we may experience or trends we're seeing among our clients. So the communication is key to, if you're having that experience, you're putting the time in. How do you know what's going on in the grand scheme of things outside your individual job? So those are 3 things to look for and ask about when you're inquiring about an opportunity. Okay, so now you know where to look, kind of the flow and the structure of different opportunities, or how that process works to go from interested in volunteering to actually volunteering. So when finding the right fit for you, I would recommend, thinking about these 4 things, like your timing and schedule. So if it's something you only have Saturday afternoons for, well, start there. Do the people have an opportunity for you at that time? Is it something you can do from home? Is it flexible? Is it cyclical? Determine, how do you want to get started? And timing, I find, is the most limiting factor for all of the people that we onboard. So start there. How much time do you have? And set that expectation for yourself and for your organization. So that will kind of guide you then on what next to pursue. The second thing, what skills are you good at? I enjoy things most that I know I'm good at. So for the volunteer opportunity, if it's something that, I love animals, but I'm not like good with cats. So I wouldn't pursue that opportunity. So hone in on your skill sets. I like to talk to people. So I think that's why I'm kind of really, really leaned into my organization. So I get to go and chat with people all the time. So if you're not a chatter, maybe having really social opportunities isn't for you. So think about your skills. Next is life experiences. A lot of times and I'm just citing my organization as what I know the best. We have a respite program where volunteers will go into the home for a caregiver who's caring for someone with Alzheimer's or another form of dementia, and sit with that person for a while so the caregiver can get a break. Many of those volunteers are brought to our program because they've experienced dementia in their family and understand the challenges of that caregiver. So that life experience really makes really adds and compounds for our opportunity, and that's why it called to them. So if you have a life experience or a connection to a certain mission, those are going to be some of the most absolutely fulfilling opportunities that you can do. And then I don't want to put it lastly, it's probably woven through all this, what matters to you. So really considering any different mission is a good way to start getting involved with an organization, and not volunteering just to volunteer, but know you're working to move something toward the greater good that you really, really care about. Is really where you're going to find the most contenting and fulfilling experience. And again, I'll say it time and time over, I've never regretted time I've spent volunteering, and I don't think you will either. The hardest step is the first, so you just got to get started. With that, any questions with my very stern looking volunteer picture? Should have did something more inviting. I can stop my share too, and we can just open it up for questions.
Well, Megan, thank you. That was so good.
That was quick too.
But very informative, and just you touched in so many, and I'm really involved with our church as a youth advisor, and you touch in so many things. What's important to me. So it's important for me to have my kids follow their culture, but it's not just also volunteer. And we had to do background checks as a youth advisor. So you touch so many things, but it's beyond me just with my own children, but because through that we do bridges, they build sandwiches around Thanksgiving, and we go in Newark and we hand them out. So it's being close to your children and what matters to you, but also just giving back to the community. So very good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone that would like to add, anybody that would has any questions for Megan?
I want to say that was a really nice presentation, like the graphics, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But I totally get what you're saying. This past weekend, I took my son and his friend, and they've been growing these plants. You see, I got some crazy plants here all summer, and they sold them and they donated some money to the Hunger Foundation here in town. And they felt
Nice.
so good about it. There's so much benefit that you get from doing good. And actually, when I started this business, I felt bad about doing good when I received good things. And I actually went to Ralph Wolf for some advice. And he told me, he said, don't feel bad. He said, that enables you to do more.
Yeah, like pay it forward and get we try to get the whole family involved, so the baby we'll leave her be now, although I did take her on a visit the other day, so I guess I'll count it for her. She was no, it's just you get so much out of it. And I think too, for not only me personally, but a lot of our volunteers, they always cite this like kind of contentment in knowing that like they made a difference. And I know it gets very hectic, but kind of being able to fall back on that experience. And I think it's physically impossible. I'll look at the Mayo Clinic information again, to feel stressed when you're helping out someone else. It's, and I think we need a little bit more of that. And when you think of it very localized in your own community, you're just helping a neighbor, you're helping everyone else so everyone can, be lifted up.
True. Yeah. At the time you feel, oh my God, do I have the time? Timing is really important. But once you're in it and you do, like, there's a big fulfillment and complete satisfaction. Yeah. So, anybody else? And looking around, I mean, so much of our board is so much involved in giving back. I mean, here, Jonathan, I think you had your hand raised.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Megan, how much time you spend onboarding or training volunteers before they are out in the field working for the organization?
Sure. So our training process is pretty painless. A lot of our tasks are pretty straightforward. So for us, for onboarding and filling out like all of the forms, it might take like an hour and a half. But as part of our volunteer experience, we have like ongoing like tips and tricks, things to look out for in town halls, where if you're not sure, you have a question about an assignment or something that's happening, since we have individualized matches, you can ask it there, or, just call the office. Since our service program is linking individuals, a lot of times the one size training fits all doesn't really work. It really depends on kind of the client or case that you have. And if you need additional training, like for the respite, they do go through an additional 3 hours. Aging sensitivity is kind of a key part of our training, which is just how to best communicate with our clients who may be experiencing different loss of senses. So, that's usually where the hurdle for us, or to interact with the client, you might not have a good experience. I mean, you always have a great experience, but
Thanks.
we are offering to the public in general or different businesses aging sensitivity too. So if that's something anyone's interested in, we have really great resources and actually an in-person demo kind of simulating if people are having decline in sight, or if they're experiencing like a decline in their mobility in their hands, what it's like. And it's really a good empathy training. We do it a lot with students, but we've tailored the program. So just a little something to think about to make our place more aging friendly.
I might need that for my office, considering I'm the old man here, and they need to be a little more sensitive to my needs.
It'll be a lot nicer after this, I guarantee.
So a question, I mean, you said you onboard about 300 to 400 volunteers a year?
So that's our goal. So we're usually around 300 volunteers, but I would say in our pipeline, so we talk to, like this year, I'm trying to look, I just looked at our dashboard, like we've spoken to 525 people who said, hey, I might be interested, but sometimes it's a process where they go through and say, hey, maybe it's not right for me, or I want to do something I had something different in mind, which for someone who runs a program, you're going to have that, but that's why it's really good for people who want to volunteer, kind of know before they go through everything, and you kind of get to, okay, you're going to go out to your first assignment, decide, hey, it's not for me. You know what I mean? So that's
I
why
was
it's
gonna-
good to be able to evaluate the job description and at onboarding ask certain questions.
So my question to you is, I mean, to me, that's a huge number. I mean,
Yes.
you know, you say it kind of casually, the 500 people, that's a large number. What do you find is the most, like you did your presentation, which I thought was great, and I agree with Adam. I was eating my lunch, so I have my camera off, but completely engaged. And by the way, Volunteers, fantastic movie. I'm surprised that you know that movie, by the way, but you know, it's 1982, is it?
1982.
Yeah.
It is perfection.
Yeah, very good. But but my question was gonna be is, what do you find to be your successful point to reach out to people to get them interested in volunteering with you? I mean, 500 is a huge number. How have those 500 people come to you?
Okay, so we do our best recruiting in person. So a lot of times it's we really work hard to get in front of audiences we think are going to have better conversion rates. So we have a little market research done in like what our best volunteer would be. So those newly retired empty nesters who not only have maybe some schedule flexibility to do ongoing things for us weekly. So we work hard to get in front of those particular audiences. And then just for us, I think it's the ability to articulate the mission. I think is kind of what gets it, because for us, we work with, you know, people aging in place, and I think everyone can relate to having a loved one or family member, you know, struggling with that challenges of caregiving for them, and just being that wraparound supportive network where folks would really, you know, kind of get why this is important. And, you know, 2 hours a month really makes a difference for someone. So like, you know, how can you say no, right? Also, when we do a lot of our outreach through our network of congregations. We have about 80 congregations in Ocean and Monmouth County who help us let people know about the opportunity. We also fine-tuned our like SEO a little bit, so people are finding us off the web a little bit more.
Thanks. Okay.
Thank you. Very good.
All right.
Any other questions from Megan?
Thank you all for listening to me. Listening to me.
I'm just gonna stop the
Thank you.
recording.